Hey there, welcome to the Achievers Way podcast. My name is Isia Wrightsama. Our guest today is Omena Daniels, an attorney turned author. He's a communication strategist and a filmmaker. Born in Nigeria, Omena is now based in the US. We discuss his experiences as a Nigerian in America. Jump right in. Hi, Omena. It's really good to see you. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for saying yes. Amazing. How are you doing? How are you feeling? What's today looking like for you?
It's been a very hectic couple of weeks, but we're still standing. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I feel like you have a very interesting perspective, right? As an African, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who has a very diverse career. And I honestly just want to explore like each of those, like a huge pie that I want to just kind of slice and talk about different aspects of things. I like to start from the basics to get to know you. So, can you paint us a picture of Omena as a young boy transitioning and growing?
As a young boy, I pretty much I was born into a household. My dad is clergy, bishops, a PK, a pastor's kid, growing up in church. So my foundation, my knowledge of God and my relationship with God formed the substratum of who I am. And
Nice.
that has been consistent. Yes, of course, I strayed a little bit as a young man. We all do. But like the Bible says, train up a child the way he should go when he's old, he will not depart from it. I found my way back, and that's the basis of my life. And when other kids were playing and trying to draw, I was trying to write little books. I tear a piece of paper and write a story, chapter one, chapter two. And as far as I can remember, when I was still a teenager, maybe 13 or 14, I laid my hands on my sister's Nails and Bones and Harley Quinn romance, and the rest is, like you said, the rest is history. I got fond of writing, and writing about love is and relationships has always been an interest to me. Yeah.
So, how did that move your career? Because I know you were with Hint and then you are on the board of directors for Ouch, and then you used to be an attorney and you went to film school. So, how do you connect those dots?
I think for fundamentally, it's like okay, when you're a teenager getting out of high school and you're about to go into college, and you're like, oh, I want to go do mass communication or broadcasting or English. And my
Yeah,
brother was like, those courses are for girls. What are you doing that?
yeah,
And then,
yeah,
okay, what's the most reputable course to do as a person in the arts? And I'm like, law. Okay, so I can't do theater arts. My dad would kill me. So I chose
yeah,
law. So I got into law. Then halfway through, like, yeah, I know I'm not going to be a lawyer. But so I finished it and then gave my dad a certificate. And then I went on
yeah.
to my first real job out of school was on campus ovation. I was editorial director. And then before I went to Hints. And getting to Hints was funny for me because it was like I didn't want to write for any magazine. I was started working on my stuff.
Yeah.
And but because I've spent years as a PK, I grew up in church, was in youth fellowship, was in singles fellowship. So reading about singles and marriage and relationship and stuff like that and sex was the knowledge I built. And so when it was time and I could write, so all that knowledge transferred to working for Hints. As a romance journal, you're talking about relationship and sex. Before I got the Hints was pretty dirty. We tried to clean it up a little bit and made it about the story, about romance, about boy meets girl and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the time that Hint became something different from the past perception, and it kind of became more mainstream. And actually, looking back, I didn't realize how much your involvement was to credit for that switch, that evolution.
And I'm glad you know, but people, I got a lot of flack for that because the regular Hints reader felt Hints was no longer as juicy,
Yeah,
as raunchy as they liked. But I
yeah,
was trying to mainstream a magazine that has been there for almost 20 years. I was trying to put it so that it's a magazine that people can put on coffee tables at offices again. But they had turned it into a magazine that was become too sleazy. So from cheap celebrity gossip to the sex stuff, it was too much. So what I did was I created a pullout I called Lviv, it was about life. for Celebrity Gist. It was like a magazine in a magazine, and then the magazine itself
Mm.
took out all these explicit sex scenes and made it a little more mainstream. The former readers hated it. They grew to like it, but I got a whole vast new bunch of readership. And then we did Hints International,
Yeah.
which you were on the first cover for Hints International,
Yes,
which was
I
more community, and
remember.
so it was what trying to build that legacy. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's been so many years.
Hmm.
So,
And
so
you haven't
many
changed a
years.
bit, though.
Oh, it's very kind. That makes me feel really good. Okay, so let's talk about your now in America. You're doing business in America, but you lived in Nigeria for a long time. Was this kind of your first, um, shall I say, relocation or migration? Or had you done it like in little bits and pieces before you took the huge final move?
Yeah, we're privileged to have traveled earlier on. A small percentage of Nigerians who had the privilege of traveling back and forth. I remember the first time I traveled, my mom was like, "Why are you coming back?" I'm like, "I have a job," you know. But then the truth about it, so we traveled back and forth since mid 2000s, and finally in 2017, I was like, I had had enough. After there was a regime change, I got so burnt with the politics and back and forth. I had friends who have been friends in the media industry for years turned their back on all the principles we had built. Like, okay, Nigerians don't want to be better. So
Yeah,
I kind of left at that point. I had some personal issues to deal with, but I left. But so I moved in. I moved here in 2019. Yeah,
yeah.
started in
So
2017, but
since
officially 2019.
officially 2019, from then, when you got into America for the first time and you kind of became part of the society, what was the very first or some of the first culture shocks that hit
Mhm.
you? And you were like, wow,
Okay.
okay, now I'm here.
I think first, the most shocking thing that happened to me when I moved to America was my interaction with the African American community. If you grew up like I did, I grew up on Different Strokes, Good Times. I grew up watching Martin, and then later on
Yeah,
Different World, The Cosby
yeah,
Show.
yeah,
And when you like R&B and hip hop, and you grew up listening to Boys to Men and Nat 112, and I was a big Tupac fan. When that was how you grew up, you saw life like you couldn't wait to meet the African American. In fact, that's a kindred spirit. Like, oh, they
yeah,
will understand me more. Nigerians, you guys are
yeah,
dulling me, right? And my really first got here, I met a few African Americans, really nice, back cordial. And the first time someone told me to go back to Africa, someone called me Kinta Kunti or something like that, was an African American. I was so shocked.
wow,
I thought it was just me, but I listened to LD. LD has a podcast, and he was talking about how shocked he was as a hip hop head to come to America and see that the African Americans that he's idolized all his life were like, "Hey, you African guy," or you go to a drive through. I do have an accent, I have an African accent, but I'm very educated. And you go to a drive through and you're trying to order a burger, and there's somebody, I can't hear you, I can't hear, like you can hear me, but because you notice an accent, you don't want to listen. So a lot of African Americans shut down when they get the African accent. And I did date an African American, and I was like, and I sat down with her family during one Thanksgiving, and the dad was very, very straight and said, "You people don't like us." And like,
where is this coming from? I
I'm like,
think
where is that coming from?
I'm
I like,
confused.
I posted a video by Steve Harvey just a few days ago, and it was around the same time I said to that man's just the first year I got here, like Africans in Africa love African Americans. In fact, we'd like, okay, you guys are the cool Africans here.
Yeah,
Yeah, right? Despite slavery and all other things, yeah, we might not fully understand what the African American community went through slavery. But what you guys also fail to see, because the whole world paints a picture of slavery of the African American going overseas and the life of slavery over there. But I keep trying to tell them that for every man that you see as a slave in America, a family lost a son in Africa. Some
yeah,
woman woke up and her husband will not be coming home
was
that day.
gone.
Some
Yeah,
kid will never see their father again. those people lived with that trauma all through the years. They know that, oh, you had the brother who was kidnapped, or you had the father who never came home from the farm. Yeah. So the trauma you think you face, the African community also faces that trauma, also has faced that trauma. But hundreds and hundreds of years, you're still battling with the vestiges of slavery, and we are trying to come to understand it. And so they have this notion that they fought during the civil rights movement all through, and now there's some form of equality. Then the Africans jump on it. And the third thing is that some of the
Ah,
excuses that the African American has given for years about the system not being favorable and this and that happening to the average African American. The average person from Africa comes in and we're succeeding in spite of the systems. So for me, it's a matter of they see it as the glass being half empty, and we coming from Africa see it as being half full, right? So we take the opportunities they would never take. We would do the things that they will not do. We have a work ethic that is different because we are coming here for the opportunity. But
yeah.
most African Americans still have the trauma of, oh, the white man doesn't want me to succeed. The system is rigged against me, and so he holds a lot of them down. Yeah, and there's a
That is
lot more, but let's
such
delve into
that
that.
is such a very interesting perspective because I've actually I think I was there was a forum I was a part of, and somebody posted the question about, Africans don't like me. I'm African American, and I was like,
It's shocking to us when we hear
what
it.
do
We're
you
shocked.
mean? Because it's not even it's like a non-issue. Like,
Mm.
why wouldn't we like you? We love you guys. Like, we think you're part of us who are there. So I didn't get it, but it was very interesting. And you talking about it now, I kind of understand
Yeah.
some of the nuances and kind of the underbelly from their perspective, but I don't know any African explicitly who dislikes an
Yeah.
African American.
Well, they think,
Personally,
yeah,
I don't know
they
any.
think what this is how I answer that question when I get it. I said, I'm from Delta State. I'm Isoko, right?
Yeah,
I think the closest tribe to us from where we come from is maybe the Robos, right?
horrible, yes.
Are they not things that you're supposed to say about the robots that are like nice or
Of
things
course.
or yeah? I said that's who we are. So the Igbo man will say it about the Yoruba man. We
Mm,
just the way we are. We might, and the hits to some of them come to understand that what Akata means because they call him Akata here, right? And it,
mhm.
for I tried to investigate, but a lot of people have different ideas of where the word came from. For me, what I found out where the word comes from, you know how we say kata kata in Nigeria, a riotous, rambunctious people. Yeah, and because a lot of African Americans can be a little extra, right? But we are also extra in Nigeria, so it's they don't like the fact that they're being characterized, and I try to tell them we characterize ourselves even back home. We are like
Yeah,
that. It's just the way we are, and it's something. Most of the times, there's no hatred involved. It's just
yeah.
this is who you are. This is how you do things. Yeah.
I don't perceive the word akata to mean anything negative. I don't perceive, and especially when people use it back home, they use it to just mean African
African.
American. They're not using it to describe like a particular malicious trait or using it like a slur.
Yeah.
It's just like you're light skin, they call you Igbo.
Mhm.
You're dark skin, they call you Dudu. You're from the north, they can call you
And I got your
Aboki.
Abuki. Abuki is not yeah.
Exactly.
Or Mala
So
or
yeah,
something. It's just
that
very
is
good.
really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, I have more questions about this. So imagine an African or one of your, let's say, one of somebody from the Isoko tribe back home or Robo, wants to come to America, doesn't have any support, has saved for this for years and years. It's like, finally, land of opportunity. I'm going there it's going to work out.
Mm.
How do you How can you advise them to find opportunities when they are starting out afresh without any communal support?
First thing I'll say is as much as you can, try and get here legally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Try as
important.
much as you can. Um, there's some things we got to discover later on that we didn't know before. The O1 visa, the H1B visas, they are work. visas that you can come in legally to the United States, or you make sure you try and get all your ducks in a row because that will save you a lot of problem and time when you land here and try to fit in society. What most of us did was find the Nigerian community and know what's on ground,
Mm.
what works, what obtainable, what can I do, or how can I navigate. And a lot of people find the Nigerian community and they're okay and they stay in the Nigerian community, they do the Nigerian church, that's their support system. But the truth about it, if you're trying to do a global business or have a global mindset, staying in the Nigerian community feels like you just left Nigeria and came to another state in Nigeria because everything with Nigeria, you'll be limited in your viewpoint. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, the Nigerian community here is in America is vast, and especially in Houston, where I am right
Yeah.
now, it's huge. Very successful people, very entrepreneur, very high net worth individuals in that community. But there's also a mindset issue you might have to struggle with because they have a very us versus them mentality where they feel like, yeah, I'm here to make money, I'm here to take the opportunity. And so they're not trying to be ingratiated into society. First generation, second generation Americans are better at that, at part of the society, like the kids that were born from Nigerian immigrants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a balance between Nigerian society and then try and meet the blend with everybody, the Hispanics, the whites, and
Yeah.
create a better worldview, a broader worldview is better for you. But
Yeah.
a lot of Nigerians come here and they stick to Nigerian community and they do well and they're not bad.
Yeah.
Let me say their claim to fame is they're in America, they're working hard. When they go back home, they're they're celebrated. But if you want to come here and set up a company that is global or start a business and be great in the American society, it's a whole different kettle of fish. There are different ways
Yeah.
to go about that. Yeah.
I see that. I understand that. I want to jump right back to you, looking back from where you started and the steps that you took. Is there anything that you would do differently, and what did you learn by trying
Mm.
and failing and succeeding and trying again?
Was isn't the process that America has a lot of opportunities. Sometimes when you look at the spending power of the average American, you're like, what? What was I doing in Africa all these years? But the truth is, what it is that for me, I wish I had spent more time learning about the tax laws in America when I was in Nigeria. I wish I spent more time learning about investments and investment opportunities. So I spent a lot of time here trying to get that. In fact, I'm still learning about those as we speak. I have a class sometime later today. And when you learn that, is you learn that's one side of it. Then I started learning about patents and registrations and how the legal system works here. Because when you're trying to do something great, you have to dig a deeper foundation
Yeah.
than someone who's just trying to sell market, as we say, as it were. So for me, I have a book out on Amazon. I'm trying to get my second book out, but I want a book deal, and I'm trying to get my company to back the second book so that I get all the royalties and that fall out.
Yeah.
And then if
Yeah.
my second book gets adapted into a movie, I want all the rights to come to my company and not to another production company. So you see
Yeah.
all the nuances of doing business in America. And then on the other side, I'm developing a clothing line and we're designing, we're looking at patterns, we're looking at the logo, we're looking at how that tallies with other logos. We're looking at manufacturing shoes and how Adidas did it and how Puma did it and Nike did it and how to
Yeah.
do online business and merchandise. So it's like going back to school. And so that's whole dossier of information is something I wish I'd done before I got here. But a
Yeah.
chunk of it you can't do it until you're on ground.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of learning. I moved to America in my 40s. So it's a lot of learning to do
That's
to be
scary
able
for
to,
many
yeah,
people.
it's scary. Nobody wants to start afresh. So when it comes to Nigeria, I was not a nobody. But you come to a society where you're pretty much nobody. Nobody knows you. So you got to start afresh. You're trying to, and then of course, while you're trying to do all that, you have to get a job because yeah, bills got to be paid. So you can say, "Oh, I have a dream. I'm building the greatest global media empire." Nobody wants to hear that. So you got to
Yeah.
pay your bills, and so you have to get a job. And you might not get a job on the level you've been used to in Nigeria because growing
Yeah.
pains, you have to do whatever it needs to do to pay the bills. So one of the things I'll tell you for anyone moving from Africa to America is you got to know that work is work.
Yeah.
Work is work. If you have to deliver food, if you have to drive Uber, if you have to do anything, work is work. So you build up to where you get all the certification, and then just going to school consistently. Everybody's studying IT or the health, and you have to find where you can plug in and get that education and be able to work while you're pursuing your dream as a side hustle until it becomes
Yeah.
the main thing. Yeah.
I agree. And what I like about the West is how much of a leveler it is, and nobody looks down on you based on what you do.
Yeah.
Back home, if you say you're a plumber, it's like you're a plumber, like it's something less than.
Mhm.
But here, plumbers earn a ton of money. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with being anything. And I think a lot of us, when we leave our homes and we relocate, we seem to think that we will just connect where we're going at the same level that we left off.
Mhm.
And it doesn't always work like that. And what you said, it actually does circle back to what you said, that you may have to start from a place that is beneath where you're coming from and kind of just work your way up.
I know
And there's
guys with
nothing wrong with that.
PhDs that were driving Ubers as of 2 years ago. Now they're working in multinational. They're earning about $350,000 a year,
That's
right?
great.
They were driving Ubers 2 years ago. I know a
That's
girl who,
great. That's really great.
when I first came, we were sharing tips on what works better, Grubhub or DoorDash, and she was trying to tell me Grubhub is this. She just got a master's from here, and now she's just bought a house 2 months ago and has a nice Mercedes. I think it happens. It may not happen that quickly for everyone,
Yeah.
but when you come in, you start out doing whatever it takes to pay the bills, and just don't get stuck there. Because if a couple of people get stuck there, the money seems
Yeah.
to be okay. Hey, forget my dreams. My dreams was to make money anyway. So you don't get stuck. You get stuck there.
Oh, that's amazing. Hi guys, it's your right Sama here. I want to thank you so much for watching, because if you're here and you're seeing this, it means you watched the show all the way to the end, and you have my thanks. If you like the content, if you thought it was helpful to you or to somebody else, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also to share it amongst other people that could benefit from it. We're a really young channel, and we're really hoping to grow and attract other expatriates, other international business professionals, other immigrants who are thriving in business and dominating globally. We're trying to attract them to come on the show and share their experiences, their knowledge, their wisdom that can be helpful for others who share a similar context to them. So until next time, enjoy yourself, enjoy your life, enjoy your work.